Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Teens for Business podcast. And I'm so glad you could join us on today's episode. I'm your host, Kaiwin.
I'm Jackie.
I'm Ivan.
And I'm Jack.
And today we'll be talking about Elon Musk and the controversy surrounding him with the recent news on Twitter stripping notable accounts verifications. And for context, Twitter is a very popular social media platform with over 450 million monthly active users and was acquired by Elon Musk back in October 2022. And Elon actually made this acquisition for around $44 billion because he said that he wanted to promote the opportunity for dialogue, which he said was lost because of the way that the media kind of favored different extremes and just for revenue instead of like saying the truth. And recently, Elon has threatened to remove blue check marks or the verification symbol even for notable accounts who are not paying for Twitter Blue, which is an $8 a month paid subscription. But despite these threats, many famous organizations and A-list celebrities are not budging and they're not willing to pay for the verification. And I guess starting off, have you guys used Twitter? And if so, like how often do you use it? What do you use it for?
So I personally do have the app, but I think the difference between it and Instagram or some other platforms, for me at least, is that I don't really connect with anyone I know in real life. It's not really a place where I use it for my personal things. I kind of just look at what's trending. I kind of look at what the people I'm following, I look at their tweets, but it's not like on Instagram where I connect with my friends, like not where I keep up with someone I know in real life. It's more so of like a to know what's happening in the world kind of thing for like a quick news info brief kind of thing. Also, like I think Twitter for news, not like news, but for like fandoms or for like something that's not like politics, because I don't know. I don't think Twitter is a good idea for politics, at least.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jackie because yeah, Twitter. I don't like like if you have an Instagram account or something like, hey, follow me, I'll follow you back. I don't really do that with Twitter. I just lurk. And then um, I actually contrary to Jackie, like I really like seeing politics on Twitter, because it's so polarized. It's actually really funny for me. But lately it's been more concerning than funny looking at politics on Twitter. But sometimes on Twitter, you get news quicker than news outlets. Like I remember the train derailment stuff that happened a while ago. I found out first on Twitter before like it happened. Like all the news outlets posted an article on it. So I guess it's a quicker source of news. Um, but other than that, Twitter is just like a very fun platform, or at least it was a very fun platform. But yeah, not that of a user.
Yeah, same here. I'm not really too much of a user of Twitter. Sometimes I log the times I've used Twitter the most is to like maybe catch up with like sports news and like which like sports events and like certain games when I can't watch them. And I've also like kind of like followed the political polarization throughout Twitter. I think Twitter is a political haven for like political polarization. And like, yeah, it's definitely gotten more sour over the past few years. And like, but for me, I feel like Twitter's like pretty efficient with like getting like news because like at like the first time when like the news came out, people kind of like explode over it before like the news people like really like post it. So I think Twitter's still like a pretty reliable source for information, but you just like to make sure you don't like fall for like traps of like misinformation and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think for Twitter, in comparison to like other social media platforms, I rarely tweet. I look at the whatever's trending, right? The Explore tab. And I just kind of use that, yeah, to catch up on news, catch up on whatever's going on. But I think a lot of like young people, unless you're like actually on Twitter a lot, you rarely tweet yourself, but you kind of use it as like a news source just to catch up with whatever in comparison to where on Instagram you may post, you may be like liking other stuff, but on Twitter you like rarely tweeting yourself. And moving on, what do you guys what did you guys think of like Elon's takeover of Twitter in October of 2022? Do you think do you think Twitter's better with him or without him?
Uh,
I think Oh, sorry. I think it is a little bit more uh chaotic than I might have expected it to be when the news first broke that he was acquiring or when he was buying out Twitter. Um like the whole thing with the blue checks and like the verification system and just things like that. I think there's a lot of pushback against it, and like I feel like I'm kind of on the fence for it. Like I understand from a business perspective that like you're charging money, great, whatever. But at the same time, like it feels really stupid for someone to be able to pay and be verified, even though they might not like, even if they're not someone that like would regularly have that verification status. I think it just kind of changes the um meaning of it a little bit. But I mean, I'm not that drastic of a Twitter user, so it doesn't really impact me that much. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I also like when Elon Musk took over, everyone was like freaking out and like, oh, let's not use Twitter, but nobody did that. A ton of people still use Twitter, and like the people who said they will stop going to use Twitter, we're gonna stop using Twitter, they still use Twitter. So I guess it was better than expected. However, Elon, I think, is kind of figuring out that he lost a ton of money in buying Twitter because advertisers started pulling out, and like the value for Twitter like dropped. He already like paid more than what Twitter was valued at, and then after he acquired the value of Twitter further dropped. So he's like, "Oh crap, I lost a lot of money. I gotta find a way back." So I think that's why he's trying to make more people buy Twitter Blue. Um, and like, uh, on Twitter, like last week, I also saw Elon Musk say like they were gonna remove the recommended tab for people for everyone who doesn't have Twitter Blue. Uh, I don't know if he's actually gonna do that, but if he does, that would probably make the thing work because Twitter defining feature was that recommended tab. Um, so yeah, definitely becoming a more suspect business model than before after Elon's takeover.
Yeah, I agree. I actually initially thought like Elon's takeover of Twitter was pretty exciting because we wanted to see what he was gonna do with Twitter, if he could transform Twitter out of this like political polarization like platform role. But in the end, I felt like he did make it more chaotic. But that's also down to like a lot of other people who like kind of like were worried that he would do something like businessy, and then they pulled out, causing him to lose a lot of money. And then now he's trying to gain that investment back. He tried to sue Twitter to, I mean, just like get out of the deal, but that obviously didn't materialize. And now he's trying to like do different strategies to gain back the money that he's like lost and like make Twitter into a sustainable business model. But simply for right now, for like people who just want to like use it, I don't think it's like too sustainable. And also I want to talk about like the verification like marks. Aren't those like verification marks supposed to be like to like verify like that person's like that person, it's not like an imposter thing? I'm pretty sure that's like what the verification mark is on other like social media platforms. So I feel like I don't see why Twitter Blue would make sense in that context.
Yeah, I think like all verification marks started off as just to make sure you are who you say you are and you're not like like a scammer or somebody like that, right? But like I think Elon's just trying to like monetize like every aspect of Twitter now, and he's like threatened to take away verifications for like anybody, like all the celebrities who currently have Twitter but are not paying for Twitter Blue. He's busy threatened to take all of that away, and I think one like organization that he's already taken the verification mark away from is New York Times. And like because they publicly stated how they won't be paying for Twitter Blue. So even though they have like over 55 like million followers on Twitter, they don't have that verification mark.
Yeah, I just want to add in like, I think for the organization, like if you're like a company or something, the verification is not like $8 a month or $7. Was it $8 or $7? I forgot. But like it's like $100, like a lot more than the Twitter Blue. So like every single time someone says something bad to Elon, he would reply with, "Okay, now pay $8," which I don't understand that how it's funny. But that's just become the characteristic of Twitter ever since Elon has taken over.
Yeah, and I guess we can talk about like how other companies are kind of following suit. I think Instagram is also offering like verification for like all people who are willing to pay a monthly fee. I think for Instagram it's around $15 a month. So I guess that brings us to our next point. Like, do you guys think paying for verification is like something that is helpful in terms of like marketing and putting yourself out there? Do you think like, because I feel like with Twitter Blue, the fact that now anybody can get a verification mark, it makes the verification like less special.
I think for the relatively near future, I would still look at a business who has that blue check mark next to their name with more credibility than one that doesn't, just because I think after years of being like, oh, there's a blue mark, they're like probably like something is going on with them. They are relatively a bigger company, whatever, whatever. And I think that doesn't just go away because the blue check, like this program, it's not like it's not super popular yet. Like it's not widespread to the point of everyone doing it, especially on Instagram. Like I'm still gonna look at it until a point, if it ever becomes that point, until the point where like it becomes widespread and it's very common to see blue check marks. But if it's still like relatively less common, I would still look at it and think it's more credible just because the mindset for like the past few years that I've been on social media has been that like if you have a blue check mark, you probably are more credible. Your business definitely has more things going on for it than just a little small business that someone opened up that doesn't have a check mark. But I think that's just because the program isn't huge yet. Like if it does become really common and people and everyone start using it and all of the businesses start doing it, then it's like okay. But for the near future, I think it's still very valuable for businesses to use.
Yeah, I agree. Like for verification, it's sure it was like say, oh, this is the real person I'm looking to find, and not like someone was faking their identity. That was definitely a part of verification, but most of the time when you see that blue check or like the verified on any social media platform, you kind of get like, okay, this guy is famous. This person is somewhat better than the rest of the users on the social media platform. So you kind of, I can definitely see why companies would start um, giving people verification with money, um, because of that prestige. Like kind of automatic fame you get from just having a check mark next to your username.
Yeah, I agree. In the same trend, like I've generally seen like accounts with check marks to be like probably like more famous and more credible, and sometimes I want to check them out more, and I feel like it could be worth it for like companies to like get out there a little bit more. But I also feel like if you like get that check mark, you need to like be like I feel like there's like a certain threshold that you might like want to meet as like a business to like make sure like, oh, I think we're ready for to get this check mark and like expand out there. Yeah, so that's what I think.
Yeah, I think right now the issue, because like anybody, basically anybody that's willing to pay for it now can get the check mark. Do you think that like creates risks for like imposters or like people say not like people who are not who they actually say they are, like impersonators? Because you can just create an account and then people see the check mark and they think it's somebody notable that they may follow, but it's actually not that. How do you think like Twitter or like Instagram could like prevent something like that? Because safe, like they should still be focusing on safety of the platform over like the monetary gain that they could get by making people pay the monthly subscription fee or whatever.
Yeah, right now this is like currently I feel like it is kind of a loophole within like the system. I'm not sure what like Twitter can like and like other social medias can like do right now to like kind of like prevent it, but definitely I feel like they if they want like verification, they might want to have like people like behind like the scenes that are like checking if like it's an attempt to like be it's is this like a genuine account or is this like an imposter? I I think that this is going to be like a lot of work for Twitter. So I it would be very interesting to see what this issue like gets and like and what trajectory it will take in the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like before the checkmark says has like basically proof that you're a real person, that you're being yourself, that you're like a celebrity, something like that, that you've earned your fame. But now with like the blue check mark, um like when it just came out, this person, like there were a lot of people who were kind of trolling, and they bought Twitter Blue and they impersonated um corporations such as Eli Lilly. I think we talked about this before. And they tweeted a bunch of stuff that went viral because people thought it was the real Eli Lilly. Um, and people actually like believed the stuff that they tweeted, and that was a big problem. And they literally took down Twitter Blue because there were so many impersonations going down. But now Twitter Blue's back again. It's become some sort of like, you know, on Discord you have the Discord Nitro, like you pay money to look cool, whatnot. It has kind of become like that. They're like, you have a turbo. Oh, it's because you paid money, you look cool. It's not anything more than that. So the checkmark has significantly decreased in value after that Twitter Blue change. So I think there was also some ideas being thrown around, like actual like people who earned the checkmark has like a special checkmark that shows that it couldn't be bought and it shows that you're a real person. But I don't think Elon Musk has taken that into consideration. Um, but I can definitely see that system working, like because definitely people can impersonate much easier when Elon Musk actually removes like those legacy check marks.
Yeah, I think just overall, I think like he also said how like Twitter Blue people who subscribe to Twitter Blue, like their tweets would be prioritized. And I guess like going back to just like overall talking about Elon in general, I think since he acquired Twitter, it's just like the company has just been like surrounded in controversy ever since. And just starting with like him like not wanting to buy Twitter even after like first agreeing to it. I guess what are your guys' like just general opinions of Elon?
Um, I feel like okay, so before Twitter, I've seen his tweets before and they're a little interesting to read. But I always thought like he was a very like no nonsense, let me get this thing done quick, quick, boom, boom. Um, a good like business person, which I still think he is. But like a little not the most sane person. Not a bad thing, but just kind of how he is. But I feel like the way he handles Twitter, and it might not be his fault, it might just be like the way the company works or things like that. But I just feel like it's very chaotic. And I do know that there's like a trial and error kind of going on, and like he is still trying to figure out what's happening, but I just think it's done in a very oopsie, ooh, let's not do that anymore kind of way. I just feel like it's not very like organized, it's not very just general how a company would work. It feels very like we're in the middle of something, which I don't know if I like, but um I don't know. I think it's interesting. His tweets. This is like not him being a business person, but just him as a person. Sometimes his tweets are really interesting to read. Some of them are, it kind of appeals to an interesting sense of humor. But I think he's just a very big persona in general.
Yeah, I agree. Like before he took over Twitter, we I'm pretty sure everyone thought him like a definition of an entrepreneur. Like he was not well known before. I mean, he was rich, but he wasn't well known. But after like PayPal and Tesla, he became one of the richest people in the world, everybody, especially here in the Bay Area, like kind of looked up to him because he was like the definition of an entrepreneur that we really wanted to be. Rich, a lot of ideas, took criticism, like especially with SpaceX. Um, he took like criticism from um like engineers. There was this YouTuber who was a ex NASA employee and engineer, and then on a video he was saying like, "Hey, why don't you do this?" And Elon was like, "Hey, that's I know I accept this criticism." So we used to think, at least I still do think he's a good entrepreneur, but definitely after he took Twitter, I feel like there are definitely some parts of him that aren't as great as other parts.
I agree, but also I think like before his Twitter like acquisition, I just generally felt like Elon Musk kind of had like a little bit of a crazy like personality, like a very big personality. And like once he like took over Twitter, I mean this again, like what Jackie said, this might not just be his fault. It might just be like media coverage, it might just be the political polarization. But like after like Twitter like was acquired, he like had to do a lot of like trial and error because like a lot of people started leaving and he needed to figure out how to manage these people and like still somehow figure a way to turn a profit because like so many people were leaving and he was gonna like lose a lot of profit. So I generally don't have like really strong opinions on Elon Musk as like a person. And I do if I do think that like he's still like a good like entrepreneur to like look up to and for like young people to be like looking up to him as like an inspiration for their further entrepreneurial ventures, I do believe that Twitter has somewhat tarnished his reputation.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's always been like sort of a polarizing figure, but like with Twitter, it's kind of easy to spot like some of the things that he could have probably handled better, and just like some of the things that he hasn't done or that he's done with Twitter that have made him just kind of made him look like not good in a way. And I guess that's kind of shown like because like with him like threatening to take away the verification of these like celebrity accounts. I don't see how like in a way I guess the verification makes sense, but I think with these accounts that have such large followings, taking away the verification isn't gonna do anything other than like make them upset and like because people know who they are with if they have this large of a following, but like there's no point in just like removing that verification, I guess, because many of these A-list celebrities have like publicly stated that they're not going to be paying for this $8 a month subscription. And it's definitely not because of the issue of the money, right? $8 a month. These celebrities make like hundreds of millions of dollars. So like why do you guys think that these like celebrities or notable organizations aren't willing to pay for the verification?
Um, Definitely like when you pay for Twitter Blue, the celebrities are kind of saying like Elon Musk is better than me in kind of a way. Like I can let someone else determine whether or not I'm verified or not, which is kind of like a ego hit. These celebrities have very large egos. Not in a bad way, but like they definitely earn their way. They are the person they are because they worked really hard, and buying Twitter Blue and buying the verification as a result kind of says that the stuff I did before isn't worth anything. It's just worth $8. Which is not what they want, and this is definitely I can totally see why a lot of celebrities or celebrities in general and organizations would not want to pay that type of money. It's because it's like assigning a monetary value to their fame, which is that shouldn't have a value.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think because there's a couple of famous people. I think Ice Spice said she wasn't gonna do it, and then um I don't know, someone else, like some other famous sports person was like, no. But I think a lot of them, because they're celebrities, I don't think they truly care about $8. I think it's a lot more about the idea and the principle of paying for a check mark, which is like if I am a celebrity, people know me. I've been in the industry for so many years. I am not paying money to have my brand recognized. Um, and also the sense of like, I am my brand. I don't need Twitter to verify me in order to be famous. And like that kind of idea going on, that mindset, and also just the general principle of like paying shouldn't like just them disagreeing with how identification should work on Twitter, which I think does make sense because if you're paying, you're basically being like, oh, okay, I can get verification. I can potentially like do things that I shouldn't be doing with this verification check mark. And celebrities, especially ones who are saying it out loud, they like kind of want to present this like idea of them maybe to their fans and people who follow them. And I think half of it, like this obviously depends for celebrities and like who it is, but I think sometimes it might be for sure like having a persona. Like if a celebrity's persona is very much like it's us against the world, it's like I am doing things my way, like I am so edgy, and I mean that in a nice way. Like they might just say that. So I think there is a sense of like principle, but also like just doing it for their brand.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think just like for themselves, they're like their popularity for like celebrities is like their like brand. And like they don't need like just as Ivan and Jackie both said before, they don't need like anything to like verify their brand. Like their brand is already like popular enough. But I do I don't know if this would be like I feel like the verification check mark like for some celebrities it is to like verify them and like say oh they're not like imposters and stuff. I don't really think for those celebrities especially I really don't think paying to like make sure that one person's like real. I don't think that really like from like a business sense for like the celebrity, I just really don't think that makes sense.
Yeah, I personally think it's probably like a matter of principle. Like starting off, like they've always had this check mark because they're the person that they say they were. They're actually a person, so it doesn't make sense for them to having to pay an extra $8 a month just to prove that they are who they say they are. And yeah, I think it's definitely more of a matter of principle than the $8 a month. I like they could definitely pay the $8 a month if they wanted to, but like I think it's just like the matter is like if like they feel like if they pay, they're giving Elon all the power. But if most of the celebrities, like if most of them don't pay, then they still have the power. They still are who they say they are. And even if that means like not having the verification symbol, that doesn't really matter. But I think it's like notable that like even though Elon said that like April 1st would be like the last day that non-Twitter blue like legacy accounts, that would be the last day that they would have their check marks. But I don't think I still don't think he's taken the check marks away yet. So I think that says a lot about like the his threat about taking it away, but he's hasn't really like he said that he would take it away, but he hasn't done it yet. I think that's like very interesting. But yeah, I think I think we can move on to takeaways. What you guys have any takeaways from today's episode?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest takeaways I thought was a really interesting point that we made was that like this persona of Elon Musk. Um, I think he still is a very good business person, very good entrepreneur, very good person that is on top of these companies. But I think maybe it was because I didn't really know like his like history, I guess, or like all of his decisions scrutinized under this light. But for after like his little Twitter takeover, I feel like he's just been in this trial and error situation, which is fine. Like companies have that little middle stage. It might not 100% be his fault, but I think it really showed me and also a lot of other people that like this person who was kind of thought of as a very good entrepreneur who brought Tesla up, who had very innovative, creative ideas that might not be commonplace, but they were something that was to be like thought of as very cool, very in the future very important. And then like he took Twitter and made some perhaps mistakes with it, and that kind of just changed my perception of him a little bit, and I think that did for a lot of other people, especially on Twitter. I've seen like so many tweets about him that are like, oh, he's actually not that good of a business person, guys. Like he didn't even do all these things that people think he has done, and he's just really bad at business, and he's whatever. And I don't know if I would agree with him being a bad business person, but I do definitely think that my opinion of him being an entrepreneur has gone down ever so slightly, which I think a lot of people can probably agree with me on that too.
Yeah. Uh, the Elon Musk is definitely still one of the better entrepreneurs out there in the world. Like it's probably shown he can he does have like good business ideas, whatnot, but sometimes it doesn't really work out. And for Twitter, it definitely shows like that he really wants to earn back that $44 billion that he spent on Twitter through that Twitter Blue program. And the motive behind that is probably very suspect. The way he does it is probably also very suspect. But we can probably it's still ongoing situation, and it probably would change. That Elon Musk changed his mind many times on Twitter, and it probably still will. So I guess we should wait and see what actually happens.
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens with Elon Musk and Twitter as like things like just go on. I feel like one of my biggest takeaways is that like for like the famous for like the big like social media companies that are implementing these like implementations such as like Twitter Blue and like other stuff to like pay have people like pay for like verified check marks. I think an issue that they need to like I mean they've probably already can like consider this issue, but I feel like they need to like take like more action to like prevent people from that who are like trying to be imposters to like the real people from like getting like the check marks and like again like acting as like the real person like with the check mark. So I definitely think that like this issue should be like looked into and maybe like potentially like solved by like maybe like I guess like by having people look in inside like requests to get that verification check mark and just like make sure that whoever's trying to get it is like a genuine person and has like genuine intentions to like market themselves as a brand as like a small company or just like verify themselves as like the real person that is actually like behind that like their account and their celebrity persona. And it will definitely be interesting to see what these social media companies will do to implement this, I guess, like suggestion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just like sum everything up, I think like ever since like Elon took over Twitter, it's kind of been like a big controversy. And especially with this like recent verification, Twitter with Twitter Blue, with him threatening to remove check marks and whatnot. It just overall it's kind of painted him in like it hasn't painted him in like the best picture. So yeah, while he is like definitely like he's still a respected entrepreneur. He's created like so many like successful companies, but like with Twitter, I think he just like he definitely hasn't been painted in the best light. I mean, it's like mostly his fault, but yeah, it's just he hasn't looked the best. And yeah, I agree with everything about the verification because I know he's trying to make the money back that he spent, but there should be like certain guidelines that you have to follow through. You can't just be giving verification marks to everyone, or like what happened with the different companies, like different accounts impersonating other companies are gonna continue to happen. And yeah, so that's it for our episode on the recent debates over Elon, Twitter, and our opinions on this current situation. Thank you for tuning in to Teens for Business podcast, and we'll see you next week.